Okay, I'll switch to English now. I will quickly share my screen to present the next session. So now we will move to Brooklyn, New York. That it's, as you all know, a vibrant business environment within one of the world's leading economic centers. So for this session, we are pleased to welcome Randy Pierce, who is the president of the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, who will present this session, Brooklyn as a Launchpad, inclusive business, innovation, and market access. So Randy, thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing all your knowledge and your expertise. And now the floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Great to see everyone, or at least virtually. Appreciate you having me. So I'm just pulling up my presentation, if you don't mind.
Yeah, should be able to share it now.
I can share, right? Let me just Star, you have it? Okay, got it. Okay, bear with me one second. Here we are. All right, and I'm going to share my screen. Just let me know if that comes up on the screen.
It's loading. Hasn't popped up yet. There it is.
Is it good?
Yeah, perfect.
Great. All right. So we like to say Brooklyn is a bridge to the world, and through this presentation, I hope to convince you of that. Just for those of you who've never been to Brooklyn, that's the iconic Brooklyn Bridge in the background, which is a landmark here in the borough. So let me go quickly through some numbers, the data on Brooklyn itself. Brooklyn is about 70 square miles and has 30 miles of waterfront. But the most important data point is the fact that in terms of population, we have almost 2.8 million people who live in Brooklyn. And that means if we were our own city, we'd be the fourth largest city in the United States after Chicago. Now, we're not our own. We took a vote to incorporate into Greater New York City, but we would be the fourth largest city. We're a young borough, 37 years median age, and more importantly, the history of Brooklyn is tied to the history of immigration. And even today, almost 40% of the people who live in Brooklyn were born somewhere else, and almost 45% speak a language other than English at home. Spanish and Chinese dialects being the most predominant in terms of other languages, but we actually speak close to 170 different languages across the borough. In terms of economic growth, Brooklyn contributes, since COVID, Brooklyn has contributed almost half of New York City's overall economic growth. I'll explain why that's the case. There were some issues related to COVID and the nature of COVID that impacted Manhattan in very different ways than Brooklyn. So we'll get into that in a moment. And then in terms of Brooklyn, there are 20 colleges and universities that are represented in the borough, including NYU Tandon School of Engineering, Pratt Institute, which is a premier design school, and SUNY Downstate, which is our medical school. There are 62,000 businesses in Brooklyn. 84% have less than 10 employees, and we contribute almost 650,000 jobs to New York City's economy. Healthcare is our largest sector by employment, but tech is our fastest growing sector. Now, tech employment has increased almost 50% over the last decade and a half. When I say tech, I mean small tech, not large tech. So if you think Meta and you think Google, they're based in Manhattan. But if you think new tech startups, they find their way here in Brooklyn. We have two world-class tech incubators, New Lab at the Navy Yard and NYU Future Lab. But in addition, much of North Brooklyn, a lot of the startup tech has just kind of come up organically, where literally tech startups are happening in coffee shops in North Brooklyn. Our retail and hospitality trade has grown significantly. And here's an interesting fact: 1.5% of all graphic design jobs in the United States are actually found in Brooklyn, which speaks to our creative economy. In terms of downtown Brooklyn, we didn't have a skyline independent of Manhattan up until 20 years ago, when we started really, when we rezoned our downtown and started building higher density buildings. Initially, downtown Brooklyn was supposed to be the back office mecca for financial services firms that were located in Manhattan. But what turned out is that much of downtown Brooklyn, after the rezoning, became residential. So what we have in terms of our central business district is a mixed-use downtown that incorporates residential and commercial. And you can see some of the skyline that's there. I point this out because in terms of, if you think of three central business districts in New York City: Midtown Manhattan, downtown, the financial district, and then downtown Brooklyn. Downtown Brooklyn fared much better during COVID than Midtown and downtown Manhattan, because we were not reliant on office workers coming back to office buildings. And what that means is that we already had a residential core that enabled us to service the small business economy that surrounded a lot of the commercial buildings. And that enabled us to really bounce back from COVID much quicker than parts of Manhattan. And it's also why we fueled some of the economic growth for New York City over the last, let's say, 5 to 7 years. In terms of the tech sector, once again, I touched upon some of this, but New York City is home to about 25,000 tech startups. 8,000 new jobs were created in the last decade in the tech sector in Brooklyn. Our startup ecosystem is valued at almost $700 billion. So we're only second really to San Francisco, Silicon Valley, and then San Francisco, and then New York City in terms of tech startups and the tech sector. And this is kind of really where we see some of the future of Brooklyn's economic growth is really in that tech sector. And New York City is doing a lot to kind of facilitate that now. We do have a strong focus on the life sciences, both healthcare and biotech. In fact, this is one of the sectors that New York State has actually been aggressively courting international investment. We do have incentive programs in place to support the life sciences sector. You know, and that's an area we think of growth. Now, I want to be very, very fair in my assessment. New York City is a high-cost jurisdiction. Labor costs are high and other costs are high. We don't have significant benefits, but at least in the life sciences sector, we actually do have programs that can help offset investment costs here in New York City. Now, if you really want to understand the history, the current renaissance in terms of Brooklyn's economy, you have to look back at history. Brooklyn was the manufacturing hub for New York City through World War II. In fact, when we were building battleships at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, we were the fourth largest manufacturing center in the United States. And after World War II, we unfortunately faced the same challenges as heavy industry sort of left the United States that many of our cities in the Midwest faced. We saw a lot of disinvestment. We saw a lot of urban decay and impacts on our infrastructure. We saw a lot of middle class leave Brooklyn and go to the suburbs. We saw increases in poverty and crime and unemployment. And the Brooklyn that I grew up in, 70s, 80s, and 90s, was a very different place than the Brooklyn of today. But Brooklyn had two advantages that enabled it really over a 30-year period to transform from what was once heavy manufacturing economy to now what is the heart of the creative economy in New York City. The first thing we had was a branded identity separate from New York City. So basically, people knew New York City, but they also knew Brooklyn. It had a very tarnished brand. People would say it was dangerous, but then it became edgy and then hip, right? So that was a simple, how do we retell a story and reframe a narrative that was positive and forward-looking versus negative and backwards-looking. The good news is, from an economic development perspective, we didn't have to point out Brooklyn on a map. People knew where Brooklyn was. They knew where New York City was. But the second advantage we had was all of this former heavy industrial space that could be repurposed for new uses. So you're looking at a picture of the Brooklyn Navy Yard, which is an example of a heavy industrial campus that was repurposed for new commercial. But if you look at much of North Brooklyn, places like Williamsburg, places like Dumbo, it was repurposed for residential. That was important because the economic development strategy for Brooklyn was to attract the creative class, to attract professionals from the creative sectors to want to live here, live, work, and play, as we say, and everything else kind of falls into place thereafter. It's a very different economic development strategy. And if we didn't have this former heavy industrial space to repurpose, we wouldn't have a place for these folks to live. Now, North Brooklyn became residential, but places like the Brooklyn Navy Yard, places like Industry City, and places like the Brooklyn Army Terminal were repurposed for new commercial uses. And where I'm sitting here today, Industry City, for example, which is all private sector, there's 6 million square feet across 16 buildings that have been repurposed and now have over 1,000 businesses, over 10,000 jobs, and the sectors include the who's who of the creative economy. So from architecture and design to ground floor retail to light manufacturing to healthcare and life sciences and biotech, to you name it, to tech firms, marketing firms, legal assistance firms, business and professional services. It's all here at Industry City. And for us, if we didn't have this space, we wouldn't have the ability to really attract these industries. So much of today's story of Brooklyn's economic success actually goes back to and is tied to our former legacy as a manufacturing community. We still make some things here. We make food products, ethnic specialty foods, given our diversity, and also because of the proximity to many high-end restaurants. Think about industrial bakeries and stuff like that. So we have actually a pretty vibrant food manufacturing sector, but it's much more low scale versus heavy industrial. How much time do I have? Just doing a time check. Am I good on time? Just checking in. We're good?
We are okay. Yeah, we are good.
Okay. So let me talk a little bit about the Brooklyn Chamber. We were founded in 1918. We are the voice of the business community here in Brooklyn. We have actually 3 corporations. It's the Chamber, which is a typical membership association. We have the Brooklyn Alliance, which is our economic development arm, which enables us to partner with government to do technical assistance programs. And then we have Brooklyn Alliance Capital, which is actually our lending arm. So we are a community development financial institution. We're a micro lender. We mainly lend to small businesses that can't secure financing through banks and through other institutions. I like to say that the faces have changed, but the mission of the chamber is still the same. I mentioned a little bit about Industry City, where we are headquartered. Um, you can see some pictures here on the right of what this heavy industrial campus looks like. On the ground floor, we have retail. We're also a hub and a tourist destination. So we attract people from all over New York City that are visiting here for our ground floor. That's what I call where the sexy businesses are. And then above is everything else that I mentioned earlier. I talked a little bit about financing. One of the things I want to mention is during COVID, we launched a very innovative loan program called Brooklyn Accelerate that was designed for small businesses, many immigrant-owned businesses that couldn't access financing or any federal programs. They didn't qualify, but they had been serving communities for decades. And the uniqueness of this loan program was that we focused on a different underwriting criteria. We focused on credit. We didn't focus on credit scores, guarantors, and collateral. It was a character-based lending program where we actually turned to respected sources within the community to basically give a character reference for this business, and we would lend against that reference versus credit scores, guarantors, and collateral, which we know are the barriers to some of those businesses accessing financing. We do a lot in terms of neighborhood economic development. This is, where we focus on commercial corridors, and we actually do merchant organizing. We do formation of business improvement districts. We do community cleanups. We actually even take on holiday lighting and holiday Christmas tree lightings for communities. We do a lot of ribbon cuttings. We support startups in a lot of different ways and new entrepreneurs. We have a program called Business Basics, which we run through the Business Solutions Center that offers new or potential entrepreneurs 8 courses so that they can understand what it is to start a new business. We do a lot in terms of advocacy and government affairs. I personally engage in a lot of lobbying and policy development with elected officials. There's a lot of elected officials that hail from Brooklyn. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Senate House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, our current mayors from Brooklyn, and many, many others. So Brooklyn has a lot of influence in terms of legislative and policy issues, in part because we have some of the largest delegations in both the federal, the state, and the city legislatures. We do legislative visits to both Washington, D.C. and to Albany. Albany is the state capital here in New York. We have signature events that we operate as a chamber. We have an annual meeting and winter gala. We have a real estate showcase event. We do Black History Month celebration. We do an Asian Heritage celebration event. We have a not-for-profit summit. We do career fairs. We also do an energy summit. We're very big in the energy space, mainly because New York City and New York State have very aggressive decarbonization goals that if we're going to meet, we're going to have to incorporate a lot of new technology. There's going to be a lot of change that we're going to have to understand and absorb and implement. There's going to be a lot of impacts on infrastructure. So every year we do an energy summit where we kind of continue that conversation about what that's going to look like. Here's some pictures from our energy summit that we do it's a whole day event. We do it at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. And we run 2 retail stores, the Brooklyn Made stores. This was also an outgrowth of our work in the field during COVID. We met so many independent makers and designers that were literally making products at their kitchen table. And we wanted to give them a forum so that they can promote those products to a wider audience and grow and sell. So we actually opened 1 retail store in 2023, another retail store in 2024. We have an online platform, the brooklynmadestore.com. Food and beverage, packaged food goods, pet products, jewelry, apparel, housewares, toys and games, all of these made by Brooklyn makers. So we're proud of the work that we're doing in this space. For me, it's been a tremendous learning experience running retail operations, but it's certainly very, very unique to run for Chambers to run retail stores. And then finally, last but not least, is our Brooklyn Goes Global. So this is where we reach out and build that bridge to the world, bridge to all of you. And this is where we do a lot of different things. And we've been really over the last, or I would say, decade or more, expanding our support within the global community. You know, this is just a sampling of some milestones and some events that we've done. But in essence, there are three areas in which we engage in sort of international relationship building. The first is we host many foreign delegations that come to New York City and also want to understand Brooklyn. And Brooklyn has become an international brand. So when international delegations come to New York, somehow they make their way to Brooklyn and they want to connect with us. And we want to sort of promote who we are as a borough and what the relationship is to New York City. Once again, this is more of a timeline of activities that we've done sort of internationally. But let me skip. This is our international delegations that we've met with over the last year, quite frankly, 80 delegations. And you can see delegations from all over the world, from Latin America, from Central America, from Asia, from Europe, from Africa. And for this, it's really about, how do we present Brooklyn in the most positive light? How do we showcase what we have here to offer to these international delegations? Sometimes they're trade delegations. Sometimes they're facilitated by the local consul general and consulates. Sometimes we host even political delegations, whether it's members of parliament and other things. So that's the delegation work. We also do trade missions and trade show assistance. So, we host 3 trade missions a year. By the way, these are done in partnership with New York State. So it's not exclusively the Brooklyn Chamber, but we get authorization and approval from New York State. They cover some of the cost. And, this year alone, we have a trade mission to China coming up. This past spring, we were in El Salvador. Had a very successful trade mission in El Salvador. Last year, we were in the Philippines. We were also in Dubai. And what else did we do last year? Oh, London. London, we were also there as well. But we generally do 3 trade missions a year. And like I said, we do those in partnership with New York State. They have to approve the mission. We have to be invited by the host country. We have to get approval from the state. And then what we try and do is match Brooklyn businesses with the sectors that the countries are trying to attract. So that's the trade missions. But we also do trade shows domestically where we'll help our makers, particularly food makers, at the Fancy Food Show. So we participate in the Javits Center, the one in New York City, and the one on the West Coast, usually in Las Vegas, but this year it's going to be in San Diego. I point this out because the third thing we do is we actually have some funded projects with overseas companies. So let me get back to this. Let me go back to it. But we do these proof of concept programs where we will embed products from overseas companies in Brooklyn-based companies to test a proof of concept on a more global scale. We're doing this with Korea right now. We're doing this with Singapore right now. So these are Singaporean, Korean startups that have many in the tech sector that want to test outside of their home market and to see whether their products actually have, can actually perform better on a more global. And you can't get more global than Brooklyn. So we'll do all the work in terms of matching them with a host company here, embedding the product in the host company, monitoring the results over a period of time, and then issuing a final report. And then these companies can take the information and use it for their expansion plans, whether it's to raise capital, whether it's to open up a subsidiary here in the United States. Um, and we get paid to do this work by either the company themselves or through intermediaries. So right now I mentioned Korea. Well, here's some examples of companies that we've worked with. We've done 18, 14 from Korea, 4 from Singapore. We're open to doing this work with companies across the globe. So it's not exclusive. This is just where we've started to gain traction. Some of these companies are in the energy space. This is a portable, EnerCamp is a portable energy, portable charger for cars. This is a air purifier system, which we used for restaurants. Sesame Labs was smart locks for doors and for real estate companies. We have a rain detection system that we currently have on our roof here in Industry City that detects flash flooding conditions through Wooza, which is a company based in Korea. And I point that out because our most advanced relationship currently is with South Korea, and that has evolved over a 5-year period. So I point this out as just an example of how what initially started during COVID, quite frankly, as a goodwill gesture between the people of Seoul donating PPE equipment to the people of Brooklyn has now evolved into a very sophisticated, multifaceted partnership that we operate. So you can see the progression, but it started very, like I said, very goodwill. We've since have taken on pilot projects with Hyundai, for example. We looked at healthcare mobility projects. We did a Brooklyn conference in Seoul in 2022. We've signed an MOU with their engineering school, which now has a presence here in New York City in partnership with NYU. KAIST is their engineering school. I spoke at the Next Rise Tech Conference in 2023. We have a project with the Buddhist temple in Korea, Waljansa, to do health and wellness programming here in New York. And then we launched these testbed projects with Korean International Trade Association and with now 2 other intermediaries, BSR and Cosme. So this is an example of how what started, very, very simple has how evolved into something that's really, really sophisticated. In fact, I'm going back to Korea in October to speak at a conference, an economic development conference in Gyeonggi province. And then I'm going on to China for a trade mission. So wanted to point that out. In terms of some other international projects, we have an international affiliate membership program. So technically, any foreign company can join the Brooklyn Chamber as an affiliate member. And we offer promotion support, advocacy, convening services, some of this as of right. Happy to send more information about this. But I will tell you, is an interesting story because the impetus behind us developing this affiliate membership program was actually a company in Argentina called Fuzzy Fish. They were actually a tech company that does educational software design. They have clients here in New York, and they joined the Brooklyn Chamber several years ago. And they came to New York, and they were using our space to host their meetings. And while they were here, and they were using our space, and I didn't know them, I never met them before, and I asked them, who are you? Tell me about your company. They said, oh, we're from Argentina. And it was cheaper to join the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce than it was to access co-working spaces in New York for when we're in town to support our business development efforts here. So which I thought was a brilliant strategy on their part. And that got me to thinking, oh my gosh, there are other companies that may want to take advantage of this. So we developed this whole international affiliate membership program in an effort to help promote this type of relationship. Mainly, these are international companies that are thinking about starting a subsidiary here in the United States, and they want to use Brooklyn as the gateway. So just to recap, Brooklyn, we'd be the 4th largest city in the United States if we were our own city, one of the most diverse places on earth. We speak 22 languages across the borough. We have a lot of political influence, given the fact that so many elected leadership comes from Brooklyn. We contribute almost 650,000 jobs to New York City's economy. We have been the engine for economic growth for New York City since COVID, and we're a Brooklyn brand. In fact, Seoul, Korea, Sungdong-gu is, Sung Sudong, I should say, is the Brooklyn of Seoul. They call it the Brooklyn of Seoul. We're proud to export Brooklyn culture overseas. We look forward to doing more of that. And that's the end of the presentation. Let me stop the share and happy to answer any questions or.
Thank you so much, Randy. That was impressive. And I would like to just remember one of Frank Sinatra's sentences. If we can make it there, we can make it anywhere. So probably do it in New York from Brooklyn. That will be a great opportunity for someone seeking to expand into the US. And we have indeed a lot of questions. Everyone is just mentioning, and we can see there some hearts and claps because everyone was so interested in everything that you were mentioning and the programs and so on. And I'm reading here, first of all, Patricia Campbell is asking if there is any way we can connect with the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, whether there is an email, a website, or something.
Yep, I could put all of that in the chat for sure.
And for those who will then watch the recording, we will send all this information by email as well to all of the registered people.
And Avi Leshes, I'm giving you his email. He's the director of our Global Affairs division. That's his email address. He's on holiday. It's the Jewish holidays here in the and so he's not in the office today, but he's the point of contact if you need to reach out to us on Global Affairs.
Right. And I have another question here from Luke. Do you have any trade mission to Latin America in the near future for next year, for instance?
Yeah, we're open to it. We were in Central America this earlier this spring. We did a trade mission to El Salvador. I will tell you, Guatemala has been lobbying us very aggressively. We actually did an investment forum for Invest Guatemala, where we hosted them on a webinar where they presented investment opportunities in Guatemala for Brooklyn-based investors. We've talked about Argentina as a possible place for us. We still have 2 more trade missions to figure out between the end of this year and through March. Our state fiscal year ends March 31st. So we haven't decided yet, but we are certainly open to it, and we have been discussing Argentina.
So in order to get to know what's next, you need to stay connected with the chamber or also with us, and we will let you know where the chamber is going. Maybe if they go to Argentina, actually, we have a large audience from Argentina today here connected. So hopefully you'll manage to go there. So we have more questions here. Let me pull them back. Which industries or sector are currently growing fastest in Brooklyn, where Latin American companies could find opportunities?
Tech is it. Tech is our fastest growing sector. It is startup tech. I think it plays to some of the to some of what's happening in Latin America and South America, because we've already connected with some tech firms like Fuzzy Fish, for example, in Argentina, that have developed software that is already commercialized here in New York and through our educational system. So I think tech is probably the best fit, and it's kind of where we're headed. It's Silicon Valley, it's San Francisco, and then it's really Brooklyn in terms of new tech startups. So I think that's probably the best advantage there.
Great, that's great. And actually related to that, we have here one specific question that says, how does Brooklyn innovation ecosystem differentiate itself from the one in Manhattan or other established business center? And also asking related to something that you just briefly mentioned, New Lab has any benefit for LAC firms that you know?
Well, okay. New Lab is you have to apply to get into New Lab. I'm sure they have benefits, but there is an application process. So I think the bigger issue is what's the criteria for acceptance into New Lab. That I don't have offhand. I think we can get that for you, and I can transmit that to you. Um, but New Lab has been hugely successful in terms of helping to facilitate new tech startups here in New York. New York City is doing a lot as well through our Economic Development Corporation, through EDC. They're actually announcing very soon something called uh, the International Landing Pad program, which is going to essentially provide one-stop services for international firms that are looking to locate here in New York City. And they will provide them with a suite of supports, whether it's accessing real estate assistance, whether it's information on incentives, whether it's market intelligence, whether it's facilitating meetings and connections with industry players. So all of that is going to be happening. It's going to be announced by the end of this year. It should be launched early next year. And that's going to be a very concerted effort on behalf of New York City government through Economic Development Corporation to ensure that international firms that want to be here are getting the support that they need in order to succeed.
Excellent. We have some more questions coming in. One says, does the chamber has any specific opportunities for women-owned enterprises?
Oh, so here domestically, we have something called MWBE certification, Minority and Women Business Enterprise certification. And by the way, when you get that certification, it gives you an advantage on procurement opportunities, city and state. There's two separate certifications. There's one for the state, there's one for the city. And we have what are called set-asides. So 30% of all government contracting on the city level, and I think it's 25% on the state level, are required to go to minority and women-owned businesses. So you need to get this certification in order to qualify to compete for those set-asides. But we have those set-asides specifically for women-owned and minority-owned businesses here.
That's great. That's great. And one question here from David Santilli. Can you expand on the use of the chamber space in Brooklyn with the membership? It's one of the benefits that you provide, and we can access if we become members. I think he likes the idea of this Argentinian company.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I thought it was brilliant. By the way, there's such nice people. Like we've developed a friendship because this was like 4 years ago, and we developed such a friendship, and we always check in with them. They don't come. They come to New York like twice a year, but when they're here for an extended period of time. So they come and they set up meetings using our conference room, and they use our flex space in order to operate and things like that. But they're just wonderful people, good people, and I enjoyed building a relationship with them.
Great. And well, those are all the questions.
The cost of the membership, is that the question?
Yeah. The last one, yeah.
So I will send you, I'm going to send you, Luciano, I'll send you the list. It's not that I might even have it here. Let me see. It's we understand we're dealing with developing countries as well as developed countries. So we've kept the prices artificially low. And the reason, and it'll spell out also what the as of right services are that we provide. Let me see if I have it handy. If not, I'll have to get it from Avi. I apologize. But it's not it's very much not cost prohibitive. So I will get that to you as well.
That's great. And I'm just putting here on the chat because it seems that not everyone got what Randy just put on the chat, so I just copy it again. That's the link that Randy was sharing, the link to the chamber. Also, that's the email address of Avi, who I had the chance to meet with him on my last trip to New York. So just don't miss the opportunity to get in contact with them. And maybe the last one.
I'm gonna put in another website.
Okay.
It's called visitbrooklyn.nyc. And it's really our tourism website. But if you're coming to New York City, visit brooklyn.nyc. if you're coming to New York City and we encourage you to get out of Manhattan and come visit Brooklyn, this is a one-stop. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Sorry, my bad. Hold on. Visit Brooklyn.nyc. And this gives you a very good overview of what to see and what to do here in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And I also want to, that question about what distinguishes us from Manhattan I think is a very important question. So we are more residential than Manhattan. You know, Manhattan is very much the financial center, global in many ways. But the most important thing, why do people want to be in Brooklyn versus Manhattan? It's live, work, play. And it's these three elements that come together, particularly for young professionals, that position Brooklyn to be the place where they want to be, not just to work, but to live, right? Because of the communities, because of the neighborhoods, because of the restaurants, because of the nightlife, and then all the entertainment stuff. So it's very much this notion of live, work, play that enables people, that it encourages people to want to be here versus, I'm not saying anything bad about the rest of New York City. I'm just saying this is really what has been the secret sauce that has distinguished us from the rest of the city.
That is correct. And I have one last question that I like. It's kind of philosophical, I would say. How does you envision Brooklyn's role in the broader US-LAC relationship in the coming years?
I wish we could lead all of the relationship building. I think we'd be in better position. Look, I'm very blessed to have spent my entire life here. And I say that because I realize that I have had a very unique situation and circumstance than other people. What I mean by that is Brooklyn's history for over 350 years has been wrapped up in diversity and in waves and waves and waves of immigrants that have come to the United States and have made Brooklyn their first home. And the beauty of that is that I've been exposed to things all my life that many people have never get a chance to be exposed to. I used to say when I was a kid, I couldn't travel the world, but the world came to me. And in Brooklyn, we've solved some major problems that the rest of the world still hasn't figured out. We've learned to live together. We've learned to understand each other. We've learned to respect each other's cultures and religions. We've learned to enjoy each other's food. We've learned to come together around sports. We've learned to build relationships with each other. And it's that diversity and that blending of cultures that has made something so unique that we call it a unique Brooklyn culture because it's a blend of everybody else. And I think that for me is the biggest, honestly, blessing in my life. And it has helped me to really understand the world in a very different framework than I think people who might have just grown up in a place where all they know is the people that are similar to them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a real direct answer to the question, but it is to say that I think we figured some things out here in Brooklyn that the rest of the world really needs to catch up to.
That's great. That's great. And maybe just the last one that just come in can a Colombian startup participate in the program, the proof of product, the program that you were mentioning?
100%. Absolutely. Just contact Avi, and he'll give you further details of how we can help support you.
Okay, so I'm leaving here again the Avi's email, and hopefully the program that you pilot with Korea and with Singapore, hopefully we can just partner and make it available for Latin American firms, because I know the potential that Latin American firms have, and the great platform that Brooklyn can be for those firms seeking to enter the US market. So, Randy, I would like to thank you so much for your time, for sharing all this information, your experience, your expertise, and for answering all the questions from the audience.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure, my honor. So I thank you. Thank you for everything.